Hi, Lori here to talk you through Chapter 14. I wanted to talk a little bit about how marketing is a never-ending quest. You need to satisfy your current customers and try to attract new customers. There are three ways that I can think of you can do that. One is update the product or invent a new one. You want to make it local or individual as much as possible, and you want to price it just right so that you keep your current customers, attract new ones, and still make a profit. If you need help with product development, you can outsource that. And one firm that does a great job of that is IDEO. And if you will go to their website and just print out the first page of their website, you can get an extra point. That will be your first question on the content quiz. I have a little trouble making us go forward here. There we go. All right. So, what's a total product offer? Well, it's everything a consumer evaluates, and that includes both the core product, what we would think of as the product you're going to actually use, and the augmented product, which is everything that surrounds it, including the packaging and the buying experience and how you feel before and after you buy it, all of that. So it might be tangible or it might be intangible, like an image or trust that you might have in a consumer or a service product that you've just purchased. Okay. Next, we're going to talk about product line versus product mix. Product line is everything that you might offer in cake mix or everything that you might offer in food products, whereas a product mix is all of the different products that your company might offer. So for a Procter & Gamble, that could be literally in the hundreds. Product differentiation can be either real or perceived. If I think that the brownie mix that Pillsbury makes is better than the one that Betty Crocker makes, it doesn't really matter whether or not it is or isn't. If I've got the impression that it's different, thumbs up to Pillsbury for convincing me of that. There are four classes of consumer goods and services. One is convenience, second is shopping, specialty is the third, and unsought goods is the fourth. I was so sad to see that insurance was an unsought good. In fact, I'm going to have to ask a question on that on the content quiz just to buck up my spirits after finding out that insurance was on the list of unsought goods. You also, we've talked about industrial goods versus consumer goods. Industrial goods are what we would call B2B, and we talked about that in our last class. Consumer goods are ones that go directly to the end consumer. Please remember that class can vary by individual consumer, so I believe Ashley feels like toothpaste would be in the shopping category, but I might feel like I might have a very special affinity towards a specific brand of toothpaste, and then that would move it into the specialty category. Let's see. There we go. Packaging should do the following. It should attract your attention and hold the product effectively. You want to make it easy to open and easy to use. It needs to give you the information on what's inside the package and explain the benefits of the product, if at all possible, on the very front of the package so that you take a look at it and instantly know what's inside and why you'd want to buy it. It will have to have boilerplate on warnings, etc. Particularly if it's a food product, it will have all kinds of information on ingredients and nutritional facts. It should also, if possible, indicate the price, the value, and possible uses so that it's selling itself right off the shelf at you. What's a UPC and what's an RFID? Those are two items that help identify products and allow companies to inventory quickly and also to scan you out at the register pretty quickly. What's bundling? Bundling is where you take a product or a service and you add in additional products or services that you think the consumer would like, and you charge a single price for that. You do need to be careful about bundling, because if you add in a product that costs you money but the consumer doesn't assign any value to it at all, then you've just priced yourself out of the market. Brand versus trademark. Well, the brand is any symbol, name, anything that makes you think of a specific product, whereas trademark is a legally registered symbol or name. Brand equity, brand loyalty, brand awareness, brand preference, brand insistence. This is your dream as a marketer. We're going to go over all of these in class. Brand association, and of course brand manager. That was my job at Procter & Gamble, and it is a very cool job. Brand categories, well, you can have manufacturer's brands. That's manufacturers that make their own brand. They may also make products for other people, but they will make their own brand, and that would be Kenmore. An example of that would be Kenmore. A dealer or private label brand, that would be your Surefine brands that you find in the service store. I believe Tops has their own brand as well. It's sometimes called the house brand. Generics are products that have no branding whatsoever, and they're much cheaper because no one has bothered to advertise them, and that's one of the reasons that they're so much less expensive. They also are generally perceived, and quite often are, lower quality. And the uh, um, knockoffs are products that appear to be the product that a name brand product, but in fact are not. And so let's see. Trying to move us on. Sorry. Okay, new product development. Well, this is fun. You've got to go through idea generation, and I think that said that there were 7 ideas for every one that made it out onto the marketplace, and that employees are a terrific source of ideas for new products, and I can attest to that. Product screening is where you look at all your alternative products or new products, and you figure out which ones you think have the best chance. Then you do product analysis. You try to understand what the product is and what you want it to do and who will buy it, that sort of thing. And then you do concept development, which is where you further refine the product and decide how you're going to package it, and some of the features or benefits that you want to make sure the consumer understands comes with the product or the service. Then you do concept testing, which is small group testing with consumers, or you might pilot test it in a small part of the country. And then eventually you move to commercialization, which is where you launch it either regionally or nationally as a product. The product life cycle includes introduction, growth, maturity, and decline. It's a theoretical construct, but it does pretty much many products, not most. I'm going to go with most. Most products do have a product life cycle, and so they are introduced into the marketplace. They grow pretty rapidly. You're meeting some new need. You've found something that consumers really want. Eventually, you've saturated the market. Everybody that wanted your product has it. Your pet rock. Everybody has a pet rock. And so then once everybody's got a pet rock, then your market might decline afterwards. There are many brands, though, that have never gone or have yet to go into decline. And I think the book uses ketchup as an example of that. Let's talk about pricing. Well, there are possible objectives that you want to consider when pricing, and one of them is, can you make a target return? You might develop your pricing in order to gain a target return. You might do it to build traffic, and you might do it to increase market share by either creating an image or meeting a social objective like making something available to people who normally could not afford it. Methods for pricing, you have cost-based, which means you add up all the costs associated with making your product, and then you add in a profit, and that's what you charge. Sometimes consumers don't like paying that price, though, and then you've got a problem. You can do demand-based, which is figuring out what people would be willing to pay, and then backwards engineering your product to be able to deliver it at a profit at that price. Or you can do competition-based, which is looking at what everybody else is charging for similar products and pricing yours in that range. A break-even analysis allows you to figure out how much you will need to sell before you have recovered all of your costs. And if you have any questions on that, I can show you how to do that in class. And finally, pricing strategies besides the 3 methods on the left, which were cost-based, demand-based, and competition-based. You can do skimming, penetration. Skimming is you price a new product very high and take as much profit as you can early on, with the assumption that competitors will enter the market and squeeze that profit margin out of the product area or product line that you're in. Penetration means you go in at a low price and try and get as much market share as possible, with the idea that you might either be able to increase the price later on after you dominate the market, or that you've made your profit by increasing the amount you've sold altogether. Everyday low pricing is something that Walmart does, and I think they use Home Depot as an example, and they don't have sales. They just try to pass along savings every single day so that shoppers don't have to time their purchases. High-low is pricing is more common in department stores and high-end retailers, and that's where they charge a high initial price, but if the product doesn't move off the floor, then they lower the price and send it out the door at a significantly lower sales price. Psychological pricing is where you price at what's called a price point, where you pick a price point that you think will appeal to consumers. So, for example, $1.99 seems like a lot lower than $2, and that sort of thing. And then finally, there's non-price demand-oriented competition. That's where the consumer names the price that they're willing to pay, and then the vendor decides whether or not they're willing to provide the product or the service at that price. And Priceline is an example of that. And of course, non-price competition means you're trying to move out of the pricing realm and focus on attributes, not just price. And I think that's our last slide. It is. Have a great night.